everyone, this is Patrick Powers, and I'm really excited to share one of my favorite subjects today, which is how to create a cult-like following. Because this is where the real gold is actually hidden today in business and the cutting edge of marketing. But we're going to take a look at that, of course, a little bit about who I am. I'm an influence expert and marketing strategist. And basically what I do is I teach companies how to create valuable connections, how to pitch with confidence and impact, and how to create profitable sales funnels and increase conversion. And I also work as a consultant doing these things for companies. Basically, within one sentence of what I do is I help create messages that cuts through the clutter and grabs attention, removes resistance, and inspires your target market to act and become lifelong customers and friends. I am the founder of Entrepreneurs in London, which is the biggest business meetup group in Europe. It's the second biggest in the world. We're over 27,000 members now, and we're now in preparation to scale nationally and internationally under the name of Founder Nation. I've also created a very small and elite network of highly successful individuals called VIP dinners. Okay. So that's a little bit about myself. It's going really well right now, but I started out actually pretty hopeless. I started my first business when I was 21. And by the way, you might be wondering, where is my weird accent from? And it's a combination of being born in Denmark and then having spent a lot of time in North America, both in the US and Canada. But I started my first business at 21 and I was a total success right away at one thing, and I was failing. I was just failing miserably, and within a year I lost my house, I lost my car, had to start all over. And then over the next 14, 15 years, I failed at least 14 times. I kind of lost track of it. I'm not talking about failing in general. I'm talking about 14 businesses that I failed with. So in 2003, I made a firm decision. I was just so tired of my life that I said, this is it. I am going to do something about it. And prior to that, by the way, I had started to study marketing and communication, and I understood that was basically my missing piece, and that is the most important piece to get right in business to succeed is all about sales and marketing. So I started to study that like crazy, and I fell in love with it so much that I thought, why not turn it into a business? And then that's in fact what I've done. Right. So 2003 was the turning point for me. I said, this is it. I built a very, very successful business that allowed me to actually retire at the age of 36 and started to travel the world, starting to move to all kinds of cool places like Dominican Republic there in the left corner. I was in Hawaii several times. This is the picture of standing on the ground above the clouds. And this is literally my motivation or one of my main motivations for building businesses is to have that freedom to be able to travel and live all kinds of cool places where there's much more sun. So this is near my place in St. Lucia, where I lived for about half a year. And to the right there, it's the view from my actual house in St. Lucia. So let's move into the subject today. Now that I've told you a little bit about myself, why create a cult-like following? It's so important today because when the internet came, it created a boom in business and entrepreneurship because the barrier to entry was lowered. It became so much easier and cheaper to get into business. Basically, you can get into business if you have a free Facebook page and you create a following. And you can make money even without your own products. You can sell, other people's products and make very, very, very good money as an affiliate, right? So because this competition has increased tremendously, it is increasing to increase, right? It's every single year on year in the UK alone, there's about 7 to 8% growth of the number of businesses started. With that boom comes increased competition, which means increased click prices. And so it's becoming more and more, it's becoming harder and harder or more expensive to get people to buy from you. But it's also harder to keep them buying from you because of the increased competition. So because of this, it's almost impossible to make a good business if people are just buying from you once or a couple of times. You must create a business where people will want to come back and buy from you again and again and again and again. This is where the real profits are hidden. right? So that's why you must create a cult-like following. And the first thing you have to think about in terms of creating this cult-like following is over-delivering. And I know you've heard that one before, but I want to stretch you and then really think about, are you actually doing it? Are you actually doing it? Okay. And we're going to talk about some areas of over-delivering that most people never thought about. And that's actually where the real competitive edge is. Okay. Most people think it just about in terms of pleasantly surprising people with your products and services. And that's, of course, necessary. You got to do that still. Okay. But it's not enough. Another area that people go into is giving them information that is not necessarily just about your product, but actually enhances the effectiveness of your product or the experience of your product, and in general helps people in their life. And an example of that could be if you're, let's say you have a weight loss product, you could give your customers tips on fitness, on exercise, on general healthy living, on recipes for speeding up the weight loss, and so on and so on. And that's tremendously powerful, but you shouldn't stop there. This is where practically all businesses stop. Okay. And if this becomes the norm, then there is no competitive edge in doing this. And it will become a norm at some point to over deliver on your products and services and then give them great information that enhances their life. That will become the norm. Therefore, you have to go further and think further ahead of where else can we over deliver. So I'm going to walk you through some things that we do in Entrepreneurs in London to create that cult-like following that we have. Okay. Number one is to give them an experience. And this is the reason why so many high street shops are going down is because they don't understand that they don't have a competitive edge anymore if they only deliver a good products and services at a good price. Because it's almost certain that you can buy the same product online cheaper and even more conveniently. So if you can buy the same product that you have in your store cheaper and more conveniently online, why would people buy from you? They are not, unless you give them an experience. If you give people an experience, they will stay loyal to you because you'll give them something that they're probably not going to get online. You can still do it online, but you can actually do it more powerfully in the real world. Okay. I'm just going to give you one example. I was once in Dallas, Texas, for a convention where I was going to receive an award in front of 7,000 people. So it was kind of a big thing for me. It was Business Builder of the Year award, and it was in front of 7,000 people, and I wanted to, of course, I wanted to look really, really good. So I went out to invest in a really nice suit, and so the lady that came and talked to me and tried to help me out with my suit, she was asking lots and lots of questions about why do you want to buy a suit now? What is it for? Right. And I said, well, I'm, in 2 days, I'm getting an award and I want to look good. And what she did was just purely magical, right? She literally called the other salespeople in the shop and said, oh my God, guys, listen to this. Patrick is winning an award tomorrow. And, just the fact that she actually took the time to get to know my real name. I mean, how often does that happen in a shop? It's just like, oh, what do you want? Okay, great. Here it is. Thank you. Thanks for your money. Bye. Right? You want to give them an experience of creating a real connection here, right? The following day, I came back to collect my suit after modifications, and they were actually having a birthday party with a birthday cake because one of the employees had a birthday, and she invited me over to actually kind of take part in this. Say, hey, come over and have some birthday cake with us. And I spent, I don't know, 5-10 minutes having a bit of birthday cake and getting to know the staff there. And it was an amazing experience because I felt included. I felt valuable. I felt like they liked me. I felt valuable as a human being, right? So that was an example of they created an experience for me that made that priceless. And in fact, something that I pressure, and then, what I've told here is just half the story. I mean, they really went overboard to make me feel amazing. And that's just one example of an experience. Okay. So if you do stuff like that, you will have a competitive edge that is like unbeatable. So the number two way to get this edge is to make people feel amazing about themselves. Okay, and there are many ways that you can do this. I mean, I just told you an experience of how they did it in this store. But let me tell you what we do in Entrepreneurs in London. One thing is to make them feel that they're part of something bigger than themselves. You probably know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where the basic needs are food and shelter and procreation. And then you have the social needs above that. And then at the top, you have the need for significance and feeling that you're making a difference in the world. Okay. So we do this in Entrepreneurs in London by constantly talking about our mission and how they play a role in that, why they play a part in that, how they make a difference. Okay. So I firmly believe that there's so many problems in the world today that we should be more serious about solving. And I firmly believe that entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs are the biggest factor in solving those problems. Entrepreneurship is the best, is the fastest, is the most, is the best way to actually solve problems in the world. Because of that, I feel very strongly about helping entrepreneurs speeding up their journey to success, where they're able to truly make a difference. And so every single meeting, we talk about our mission in doing that and why being an entrepreneur is important, why being an entrepreneur is valuable, why it's making a difference, and therefore making them feel that, hey, I'm making a difference. I am making a difference. Yes, I chose the right path, and also I'm part of this group who wants to make a difference, which feels great, right? It feels like you're in the right place in life. So that's just one way, is making people feel that they're part of something bigger, and then reminding them constantly of how they play a role in that, how they made a difference, how they are valuable, right? Number two is praise. And you can do this in groups, but I do it more so on an individual basis. Like, so when I'm talking with anybody, whether it's a member or it's a prospect or it's a client, I always try to find things about them that I can praise. And most people think about praise in terms of a compliment, but compliments are superficial. You got to go much, much deeper. And so I try to go deeper in finding something about people that is unique, something that is amazing about them, something that I can admire about them, something I find really, really cool or interesting, or just something that is great about people, right? It could be something like, let's say somebody's just a go-getter. They're persistent. They just keep on going no matter what. They never lose the belief in themselves. Those are some qualities that I admire. So if I find that out in a conversation, I would bring it up, say, oh my God, it's like so amazing. I really admire you for having such a persistence to keep on going and keeping on believing in yourself and having that kind of work ethic as well, right? Chances are these things are core qualities about this person. And if there's something that people love, it is to be recognized for the core quality, something that's really deeply personal about them, right? And I guarantee you, people will light up when you do that. So find things that are really, really great about them, things that you find is fun, inspiring, cool, admirable, and so on and so on. Very importantly, it has to be something that you truly mean. You cannot just, try to praise them and compliment them with stuff that you don't mean, because it will sound fake, because it is fake, right? Number three here is to help them grow. And what I mean by that is, like, if you actually help them move outside of the comfort zone, that's just one way of doing it. But if you help them move outside of the comfort zone, you have done something for them that is incredibly valuable. I want you to think back on the last time that you moved outside of your comfort zone. How did you feel afterwards? I bet that you felt amazing. I remember the first time I did a public talk, I was scared out of my mind. But afterwards, I had a rush of adrenaline and incredible chemicals inside my body. I felt high. I was literally almost high, right? So if you can help people move a little bit outside of the comfort zone, you have provided something for them of tremendous value. Okay, and they feel high, and you have changed them forever, because if they move outside the comfort zone, they have expanded their comfort zone forever. So you change that person forever, and they will remember you for it. Okay, and when you praise them, when you make them feel great about themselves, you actually they're actually releasing positive chemicals in their brain that they're addicted to, right? They want these feelings. So if you're the trigger of these feelings, they want more of you. Okay, and this is what is part of creating this super high loyalty. Another way of helping them grow is also to basically tell them where they might be thinking too small, or give them tips, or basically be an advisor, almost a coach to them in finding places where they're sort of thinking too little of themselves, they're thinking too small, or they're just not thinking big enough in terms of their business. If I find ways or where I can say, honestly, look, I got to tell you, like, it's great what you're doing. I think you can go so much further. This business has so much more potential, or you have so much more potential if you simply did this thing. So if you provide them a path, giving them valuable information, and in the process also building them up and showing them, listen, you can do way better than you're doing right now. You're thinking way too small about yourself. You're way better than you think you are. That literally give them a high experience as well. Plus, you have given them inspiration for actually going out and doing something more in their life. Finally, here is to get them to reveal something personal about themselves, and then you in the process also revealing something personal about you. And this is it's mind-bogglingly powerful, right? So there was an experiment done by a guy called Art Aaron. He did a social experiment where he paired up people that never seen each other before, and he got them to ask 36 questions. There was a few statements in between there, but it was largely questions. And after this experiment, people being asked how they felt about their partner in this exercise, and a third of these people said that they felt closer to this person, which they haven't met until an hour before. They felt closer to this person than they did to their current intimate partner within 45 minutes. Okay. So what he did was basically to get them to ask questions that was fairly superficial to begin with, right? But actually a little bit deeper than normal questions we ask of connections that we meet. And then he would gradually get them to ask and answer these questions that are deeper and deeper, more and more personal nature, more and more personal nature. Okay. And that's in fact what I started doing about a year ago, and the result's been absolutely amazing. And so an easy way to think about this, or remember what kind of questions to ask, is to stay away from what I call transactional questions. A transactional question is a question that takes very little effort to ask, and also more importantly, it takes very, very little effort to answer. It doesn't take any brain power. It doesn't take any effort to reveal something about yourself in the process. So, for example, a question that almost every single ask when they meet someone: "Oh, how's your day been? How's your weekend? How's your week been? How are you doing today?" Those are questions where we just answer on autopilot, and because we answer on autopilot, we are not present in the moment, and therefore there's no trust building, there's no deep connection. Okay, so a different question would be to ask, what was the best part of this week so far? Because that gets them to think deeper, and in the process, they reveal something about themselves, about what they find is valuable, what was the best part, and you get to learn something about themselves. Now, you cannot deepen the trust from there unless you also reveal something about yourself, right? So that's why in the experiment, they took turns in asking and answering the questions back and forth, back and forth. Because basically, if you are not repaying their trust in you by opening up, that they're opening up and revealing something about yourself, if you don't repay that trust and also reveal something a little bit about yourself that's personal, then they're not going to trust to open up further. Okay, so it's a back and forth where you are, where you show more courage in revealing something about yourself. You're more transparent. Okay, and this is something that people kind of fear in business. We shouldn't be really personal, and I cannot tell you how wrong that is. I guarantee you, the more personal you do business, the more of these complete, like, crazy followers you'll get, people that just won't leave you. So powerful. Start asking transformational questions instead that people have to think more about. One example of that I experienced was that actually the first time I tried this out was, in fact, on a Monday, and I talked to this guy, and I said, instead of saying, how was your weekend, which most people do, I said, what was the best part of your weekend? And he went silent. He really had to think about it. And then he said, oh, that's X-rated, right? And we both laughed, and we shared a moment at that point. And there was a bonding that happened that would never happen if I just said, oh, how was your weekend? And he would just said, yes, that was great. Okay. You see, and this was the beginning stages of our relationship. If we had been closer friend, he might in fact have revealed more about that X-rated experience, right? If we'd been closer friends. But this was the beginning stages, so you cannot expect people to share the deepest secrets within the first meeting, right? But gradually, as you ask more of them and you reveal more of yourself, this bond and trust will deepen and deepen and deepen until you actually consider to be best friends. That's how I like to do business. Is to do business with best friends. You trust each other, you like each other, you like working with each other, and it is just the way to do business, in my opinion. All right. So let's move on to the final one, and that's to build a community. This is really the cutting edge of business and marketing. In 2018, Facebook changed their algorithms to put more weight into posts from groups than from pages. And that's because they have measured the algorithms. They have measured the engagement and found out that people in groups, they are way more loyal. They come back, they're more engaged. In other words, for them, there was more business for them. So that's why they tweaked the algorithms to favor groups more. And so if you cannot build a real life community like we've done, you can at least start online. Because what happens is when you build a community, it becomes more than two-way communication between you and the customer. It becomes three-way or multi-way communication and relationship building. And you're providing something of incredible value, which is a social experience, a social network where people feel they belong to and they get value out of it. It's more needed nowadays than it's ever been in history because of the internet, where we're hiding behind computer screens. We don't get our social needs covered today, but also especially now because of COVID. It's a better time than ever to provide that experience for people, to provide that social network where they feel they belong to something. That is a deep built-in need in a human being, that we feel that we need to belong to a group, to a social network. And we just don't these days, right? So when you provide that, you create something that's incredibly valuable. You might think that you couldn't do this in the real world. You don't have time for it. It's too hard to do. I'm just going to give you one example. I don't know if you know the company Fisher, but they do scissors, right? And if there's anything that's like a commodity, it's scissors, right? It's like, why buy one scissors brand over the other? There's not that much difference in most people's eyes. But Fisher's actually done something which very few companies have done, and that's create an incredibly high engagement and loyalty to the Fisher brand. And he did this by building a real world community of people who are into crafts. It's a situation, it's not something that has directly to do with scissors, but it's to create a community of people that love crafts, where obviously when you're when you're working with crafts, you're in many cases you're using scissors, right? And they empowered leaders within this community to be self-sufficient and autonomous, to run these communities by themselves. They outlined some very simple rules, gave them some resources, some spaces to run events, and empower the community. And they have created something that is truly, truly amazing. The engagement and the loyalty of Fisher users that are in this community is just absolutely second to none. So it might take some extra work to do this, but I guarantee you, this is where the real money is. Because once you build these people, it's free marketing, right? It takes more effort, but you have people that come back to you and buy over and over again because they feel so connected to your brand and to your community that they just wouldn't even consider buying anywhere else. And they talk about you to everyone. I mean, we get so many of our members and entrepreneurs in London, we get that from referrals. In the first few years, we did put some money into pay-per-click, but I don't think we've spent money in pay-per-click for the last, 6 years at least. And we are still another 350 people a month in entrepreneurs in London. So it's just like clockwork, about 10 people a day. Free, purely from referrals and creating the cult-like following that we have. So that's it for this short training. I hope that was valuable. Of course, I'm going to answer questions around this subject. If you want to stay in touch, and in fact, if you want a free sample of my new book, The New Marketing Manifesto, you can go grab it at patrickmpowers.com. And if you want to connect with me on social media, it's on all the platforms. It's Patrick M. Powers. I'm mostly on Facebook and LinkedIn. I do have a profile on Instagram and Twitter, but I'm pretty much never there. So if you're into those and you send me a message and I'm not answering, it's probably because I just not visiting very, very often. It's not because I don't want to message you, because it would be nothing that would make me more happy is to stay in touch with you and hear how you are doing in your business and how I can possibly help. So that's it for now. And we'd love to have questions. Take care for now.